Captain Jake Murphy sat in his command chair aboard the human ship. Horizon's Edge. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of computers and life support systems. Outside the windows, stars dotted the black space like tiny diamonds. Had been mapping this part of space for 3 weeks now. Jake was getting tired of the same routine every day. The ship was not big or fancy. It was built for exploring, not fighting. Jake's crew was small, but good at their jobs. Lisa Stone sat at the navigation controls, her fingers dancing over the buttons as she plotted their next course. Pete Adams was down in the engine room, making sure everything ran smoothly. Dr. Amy Clark was in the medical bay, organizing supplies. Danny Green worked at the communications station, listening for any messages from other ships or planets. Jake stretched and looked at the star charts. On his screen, they were in the Kepler sector, far from Earth and the main shipping routes. Most days, they saw nothing but empty space and distant planets. It was peaceful work, but sometimes Jake missed the excitement of his younger days when he flew fighter. "Ships, Captain," Danny said suddenly, his voice sharp with surprise. "I'm getting a signal." Jake turned in his chair. Danny rarely sounded excited about anything. The young man was usually calm and quiet, even when they found interesting things during their surveys. "What kind of signal?" Jake asked. Danny pressed buttons on his control panel, and static filled the bridge speakers. Then they heard a voice. Speaking in broken galactic standard, the common language used by most space-traveling species. "Please, ... anyone. We need help. ... Ship is dying. ... Many people here." The voice was high and musical, unlike any human voice. Jake had heard recordings of different alien species during his training, but he had never met any in person. Most aliens stayed in their own parts of space, and humans were still new to the galactic community. "Can you clean up the signal?" Jake asked. Danny worked at his controls, and the voice became clearer. "This is passenger transport, peaceful current. We carry refugees, under attack by raiders. Life support failing. ... Please help us." Lisa turned from her navigation station. "Captain, that signal is coming from about 6 hours away at full speed." Jake felt his stomach tighten. Raiders meant pirates, and pirates meant trouble. The Horizon's Edge had some weapons, but they were meant for clearing space debris, not fighting other ships. His crew was trained for exploration, not combat. "Danny, try to answer them," Jake said. Danny sent a response in Galactic Standard. "This is Human Vessel Horizon's Edge. We've received your distress call. Please respond with your status." They waited. The bridge was silent except for the hum of equipment. Then the alien voice came back, filled with hope and fear. "Human ship. Thank you for answering. We're Zephyrians from the water world Aquata. ... Our transport carries 300 civilians fleeing war in our home system. Pirates calling themselves Crimson Fleet attacked us 2 hours ago. They damaged our engines and life support. We have children aboard. ... Please help." Jake closed his eyes for a moment. 300 civilians, including children. The right thing to do was obvious, but it might mean death for his own crew. The Horizon's Edge was not built for rescue missions in hostile space. Captain Pete Adams' voice came over the intercom from the engine room. I heard the transmission. "Our shields are working, but they won't stop military-grade weapons, and we only have enough supplies for our own crew." Dr. Amy Clark's voice followed. "I can treat injured people, but my medical bay can only handle a few patients at once. 300 refugees would overwhelm our systems." Jake looked around the bridge. Lisa was watching him with worried eyes. Danny kept listening to his communications equipment. Through the intercom, he could hear his other crew members talking quietly. Among themselves, the alien voice came again, weaker this time. "Human ship... ... Are you still there? Our air is running out. The pirates are still nearby. They said they will sell survivors as slaves." Jake thought about his orders from Earth Command. He was supposed to map star systems and report back. He was not supposed to engage hostile forces or risk his ship and crew. But he also thought about the 300 innocent people floating in space, waiting to die or be enslaved. In his mind, he could hear his father's voice from years ago. Son, there are times when following orders is important, and times when being human is more important. You'll know the difference when it matters. Lisa, plot a course for their position, Jake said quietly. Best possible speed. Lisa's fingers moved over her controls. Course laid in, Captain. 6 hours at maximum speed. Pete, give me everything. The engines can handle, Amy. Prepare for casualties. Danny, tell them we're coming. Danny sent the message, and they could hear crying and cheering through the static. The alien voice came back stronger. Thank you, humans. You are brave to risk yourselves for strangers. ... We will not forget this. As the Horizon's Edge changed course and accelerated toward the distress signal, Jake wondered if he was making the right choice. His crew trusted him, and now he was taking them into danger to save people they had never met. But deep in his heart, he knew there was no other choice a human could make. The stars outside seemed to move faster as their ship rushed toward whatever waited for them in the darkness of space. Jake gripped the arms of his command chair and prepared to find out what his crew was really made of. The Horizon's Edge dropped out of hyperspace 6 hours later, and Jake Murphy felt his blood turn cold at what he saw on the main screen. The alien ship called Peaceful Current was much larger than his own vessel, but it looked like a broken toy floating in space. Huge holes had been torn in its silver hull, and debris drifted around it like scattered leaves. The ship was dark, except for a few emergency lights that blinked weakly. But worse than the damaged ship were the 3 sleek black vessels, circling it like sharks. They were smaller than the alien transport, but moved with deadly grace. Red markings covered their hulls, and Jake could see weapon ports along their sides. These had to be the Crimson Fleet pirates. My God, Lisa whispered from her navigation station. They're still shooting at it. Jake watched in horror as bright energy beams lanced out from the pirate ship, striking the helpless transport. Each hit made the big ship shake and sent more debris spinning into space. The pirates were not trying to capture the ship anymore. They were torturing the people inside. Danny, try to contact the alien ship, Jake ordered. Danny worked at his controls and found a weak signal. The same musical voice they had heard before came through the speakers, but now it was filled with pain and desperation. Human ship, you came. We thought you were not real. Pirates have been shooting us for fun. ... Many of our people are dead. Children are crying. We cannot last much longer. Jake felt anger burning in his chest. He had seen war before, but this was different. These pirates were attacking helpless civilians for sport. He opened a communication channel to the pirate ships. Attention, Crimson Fleet vessels. This is Captain Jake Murphy of the human ship Horizon's Edge. Stop your attack immediately and withdraw from this area. For a moment, there was silence. Then, laughter filled the bridge speakers. It was a harsh hissing sound that made Jake's skin crawl. When the voice spoke, it was in perfect galactic standard but with a cold reptilian accent. A human ship? How amusing. I am Commander Thutkor of the Crimson Fleet. We have never seen humans in this part of space before. Your little survey ship is very pretty, but you are outnumbered 3-1. Leave now, and we will let you live. Jake looked at his crew. Lisa was pale but determined. Danny was already working to boost their communication systems. Through the intercom, he could hear Pete in the engine room preparing their weapon systems, and Dr. Amy getting the medical bay ready for wounded. Giving you one more chance, Jake said into the communicator. Stop shooting at those civilians and leave this area. The alien laughter came again, louder this time. Or what, little human? You will make us. Your ship has no real weapons. You are explorers, not warriors. We are Vaxxer, bred for conquest. We have destroyed 100 ships larger than yours. Jake looked at the alien transport on his screen. He could see people moving behind the cracked windows, probably trying to patch holes in their hull. Somewhere in that dying ship were 300 innocent beings, including children, waiting for death or slavery. No, Jake said simply. What did you say? Commander Thutkor sounded confused. I said no, we're not leaving.
At.
The communication channel went silent for several seconds. Then, Thakkor's voice returned, no longer amused. Then you will die with them. All ships, destroy the human vessel. The 3 pirate ships turned toward the horizon's edge and opened fire. Bright red energy beams shot across space, striking their shields. The whole ship shook, and warning lights flashed on every control panel. Shields down to 70%. Pete's voice came over the intercom. "Lisa, evasive maneuvers," Jake shouted. Lisa's hands flew over her controls, and the horizon's edge suddenly dove and rolled like a fighter plane. More energy beams flashed past them, missing by meters. Jake was thrown against his chair as the ship spun and twisted through space. Double quotes, Danny, can you jam their communications? Jake asked. Working on it, Captain, Danny replied, sweat on his forehead as he worked at his station. The pirates were faster than the human ship, but Lisa flew like her life depended on it, which it did. She used every trick she knew, flying close to the debris from the alien transport. To break up the pirates' targeting systems, the horizon's edge was small compared to the pirate ships, and Lisa made that work for them. Got it, Danny shouted. Their communications are jammed. They can't coordinate their attacks. Jake felt a moment of hope, but then the largest pirate ship fired a missile. It streaked through space toward them, leaving a trail of fire behind it. Incoming missile, Lisa warned. She threw the ship into a sharp turn, but the missile followed. Jake watched it getting closer on the screen and knew they could not outrun it. Pete, give me everything we have for the rear deflectors, Jake ordered. Already done, Captain. The missile hit their shields and exploded in a ball of fire. The horizon's edge was thrown forward like a rock from a slingshot. Jake was slammed against his chair so hard he saw stars. Sparks flew from control panels around the bridge. Shields down to 20%, Pete reported, his voice strained. Jake wiped blood from his lip and looked at the screen. The pirate ships were regrouping. For another attack, the alien transport was still floating helplessly nearby, its emergency lights growing dimmer. But something had changed in the last few minutes. Jake's crew was no longer afraid. They were angry. Lisa flew the ship with deadly precision. Danny worked his controls like a master musician. Even Dr. Amy had left the medical bay to help with repairs. Danny, patch me through to the Galactic Emergency Network, Jake ordered. Captain, that will give away our position to everyone in this sector, Danny warned. Jake looked at his crew and smiled grimly. Good. Maybe someone needs to know what's happening out here. As the pirate ships moved in for their final attack, Danny began broadcasting a message that would change everything. Danny's fingers flew over his controls as he opened the emergency broadcast channel. Jake grabbed the communicator and spoke quickly while Lisa threw their ship into another wild turn to avoid the pirates' weapons. This is Captain Jake Murphy. Of the human vessel Horizon's Edge, we are under attack by Crimson Fleet pirates in the Kepler sector.
Ow.
They are murdering civilian refugees, including children. If anyone receives this message, the galaxy needs to know what happened here. The pirate ships fired again, and the Horizon's Edge shook like a toy in an earthquake. More sparks flew from damaged control panels, and the lights flickered. Through the chaos, Jake could hear Pete shouting from the engine room about power. Failures and overloaded systems? Shields are gone. Pete's voice crackled over the intercom. Next hit goes straight through our hull. Jake looked at the main screen and saw the 3 pirate ships moving in for the kill. But then, something unexpected happened. Danny managed to break through their jamming and heard new voices on the communication channels. More ships coming in? Danny shouted. 5 more Crimson Fleet vessels just dropped out of hyperspace. Jake's heart sank as he watched 5 additional pirate ships appear on their sensors. Now they faced 8 enemy vessels instead of 3. The new ships were larger than the first ones, with more weapons and heavier armor, Jake said quietly. At least we gave those refugees a few more minutes of life. Lisa was not ready to give up. She looked at her navigation screen and got an idea that was either brilliant or completely insane. Captain, I can fly us into that asteroid field, she said, pointing at a cluster of space rocks near the alien transport. The pirates are bigger than us. They'll have trouble following. Do it, Jake ordered. Lisa threw the ship toward the asteroids at full speed. The pirates followed, but they had to slow down to avoid hitting the floating rocks. For a few minutes, Horizon's Edge dodged between asteroids while enemy fires struck stone and metal around them. During this brief break, Jake made a decision that would echo across the galaxy. Danny, record everything.
Yes.
Every second of this fight. Make sure it gets transmitted back to Earth on the emergency quantum channel. Already doing it, Captain, Danny replied. The whole galaxy is going to see this. In the asteroid field, Dr. Amy had an idea of her own. She left the medical bay and went to the weapons control station. The Horizon's Edge had mining lasers for cutting through space rocks, and Amy realized they could be used as weapons if she overcharged them. Pete, can you give me extra power to the mining lasers? She called over the intercom. That's dangerous. Doc, they could explode and take out half the ship. The pirates are going to kill us anyway, Amy replied. Let's make it count. The overcharged mining laser fired at the nearest pirate ship and burned a hole straight through its armor. The pirate vessel spun out of control and crashed into an asteroid, exploding in a ball of fire. One down. Amy shouted. The remaining pirates were furious. Commander Thoker's voice filled their speakers, no longer cold and mocking, but filled with rage. It's impossible. How did humans destroy one of our ships? You are supposed to be weak explorers, Jake answered, while Lisa flew. Between more asteroids? We're human, you bastard. We don't give up. For the next hour, the small human crew fought like demons. Lisa flew maneuvers that should have been impossible, using the asteroid field like a three-dimensional maze. Pete kept their engines running, even when they were damaged and sparking. Amy turned every piece of equipment on the ship into a weapon. Danny coordinated everything while broadcasting their fight to the galaxy. They managed to damage 2 more pirate ships and rescue some of the Zephyrian refugees who had escaped in small pods. Dr. Amy worked frantically to save the injured aliens, while still helping to fight the pirates. But the human ship was dying. Hull breaches appeared faster than they could patch them. The engine was running on backup power. Half their weapons were destroyed. Jake knew they could not last much longer. Then Danny picked up something on the long-range sensors that made his eyes go wide. Captain, you need to see this. Getting massive engine signatures coming our way. Multiple ships moving fast. More pirates? Jake asked. No, sir. The engine signatures are different. These ships are huge, and they're broadcasting Earth identification codes. Jake felt his heart skip a beat. Earth ships. How is that possible? We're thousands of light years from home. Danny worked frantically at his controls. The quantum message. Got through, Captain. Earth Command received our transmission. You're sending help. But even as hope flickered in Jake's chest, he knew it might be too late. The remaining pirate ships had finally cornered them in a section of the asteroid field. With no escape route, the Crimson Fleet vessels moved in slowly, savoring their victory. Human Captain Commander Thuckcor's voice came over the speakers. You have fought well for weak creatures. We will make your deaths quick if you surrender now. Jake looked around his bridge. Lisa was bleeding from a cut on her forehead, but still gripped her controls. Danny had burns on his arms from an exploding console, but kept working. Through the intercom, he could hear Pete and Amy still fighting to keep their ship alive. What do you say, crew? Jake asked. Should we surrender? Hell no, Lisa said firmly. Not a chance, Danny agreed. Keep fighting, came Pete's voice from the engine room. I didn't become a doctor to watch children die, Amy added. Jake smiled and opened the communication channel one last time. Commander. Thuckor, I have a message for you and your Crimson Fleet friends. In about 10 minutes, you're going to meet the rest of humanity, and they're going to be very angry about what you did here. The pirate commander laughed. 10 minutes. Your reinforcements cannot possibly arrive in time to save you. Jake looked at his crew and felt proud to die alongside them. They had saved as many refugees as they could. They had fought against impossible odds. Most importantly, they had sent a message to Earth that would not be ignored. Maybe not, Jake said quietly, but they'll be in time to avenge us. The pirate ships opened fire for what would be their final attack on the small human vessel. The pirate weapons fired at the dying human ship, but the energy beams never reached their target. A wall of blue light appeared between the pirates and the horizon's edge, absorbing the deadly fire. The light came from the shields of a massive ship that had just appeared out of hyperspace. Jake stared at the main screen in amazement. The new ship was enormous, 10 times larger than any vessel he had ever seen. Its dark gray hull was covered with weapon ports and armor plating. Along its side, painted in bold white letters, were the words TDF, Unbreakable. "This is Admiral Kate Sullivan of the Terran Defense Force," a strong female voice announced over all communication channels. "All Crimson Fleet vessels will surrender immediately or be destroyed." More ships appeared from hyperspace, filling the space around the asteroid field. Jake counted at least 30 vessels, from small, fast fighters to huge battleships. They moved with perfect coordination, surrounding the pirate ships in minutes. Commander Thocker's voice came over the speakers. "No longer confident, this is impossible. Humans do not have military fleets. You are explorers and traders, not warriors." Admiral Sullivan's response was cold as space itself. "You attacked human citizens and murdered innocent civilians. You are about to learn what happens when you wake up a sleeping giant." The battle that followed was unlike anything Jake had ever imagined. The human ships moved like a school of deadly fish, each one knowing exactly where the others would be. Their weapons fired with precision that seemed impossible, striking pirate vessels with overwhelming force. The Crimson Fleet ships tried to fight back, but they were no match for the Earth Fleet. One by one, the pirate vessels were either destroyed or forced to surrender. Commander Thocker's flagship lasted the longest, but even it was eventually surrounded and disabled. During the battle, a smaller human ship approached the horizon's edge. It was sleek and fast, built for special operations. The ship's captain introduced himself as Ben Torres of the Swift Justice. "Captain Murphy, we're here to help," Torres said over the communication channel. "Our medical team is ready to assist your wounded, and we have engineers who can repair." "Your ship?" Jake felt tears in his eyes as he watched human rescue teams board the damaged Zephyrian transport. The aliens who had been facing death or slavery were now being treated by human doctors and engineers. Children who had been crying in fear were now laughing as human soldiers gave them food and toys. Over the next few hours, Jake learned how his desperate message had changed everything. The recording of the pirate attack on innocent civilians had spread across human space faster than wildfire. For the first time since joining the galactic community, all of Earth's governments had agreed on something. This could not be allowed to continue. Admiral Sullivan came aboard the Horizon's Edge to meet Jake and his crew personally. She was a tall woman with gray hair and kind but determined eyes. She shook hands with each crew member and thanked them for their courage. "Captain Murphy," she said, "your actions here have made you heroes on Earth. The whole planet watched your fight. Children are playing games pretending to be your crew." Jake felt embarrassed. "We just did what anyone would do, Admiral." "No," Sullivan replied firmly. "You did what humans do. Most species in the galaxy would have followed orders and left those civilians to die. You chose to fight impossible odds to save strangers. That makes you the best of what humanity can." She walked to the bridge windows and looked out at the rescued Zephyrians floating in rescue pods. "The Galactic Council contacted us during our journey here. They wanted us to use diplomacy to negotiate with the pirates. They said violence would only make things worse." "What did you tell them?" Jake asked. Sullivan smiled grimly. "I told them that humans don't negotiate with people who murder children. I told them we were coming to end the Crimson Fleet permanently." The Admiral explained that the Retribution Armada, as the fleet was called, had been assembled in just 3 days. Ships from every human colony had joined the mission. Even civilian vessels had volunteered to help with rescue operations. "The Council species think we're too violent," Sullivan continued. "They call us Deathworlders because we come from a planet that tried to kill us every day for millions of years. They think that makes us dangerous." She turned back to Jake. "There. Right. We are dangerous. We're dangerous to the right people." Captain Torres joined them on the bridge. He was younger than Jake, with scars on his face from old battles. "Admiral, We've finished interrogating the pirate prisoners. They've told us the location of their main base and slave markets. Sullivan said. How many civilians are being held? Thousands, from dozens of species. The Crimson Fleet has been operating for years, and the Council species have been too afraid to stop them. Jake felt sick thinking about all the innocent people who had suffered while the galaxy's governments did nothing. What happens now? Admiral Sullivan looked out at the stars. Now we finish what you started, Captain. The Crimson Fleet has bases. Throughout this sector, they have slave markets, weapons depots, and command centers. We're going to find every single one and shut them down. And if the Galactic Council objects, Jake asked, then they can try to stop us? Sullivan replied. But I don't think they will. Did you see something interesting happen when news of your fight spread? Their species started asking why humans were the only ones willing to help. Some of them are starting to ask their own governments hard questions. She paused and looked at Jake with respect. You didn't just save those Zephyrian refugees, Captain. You reminded the galaxy what it means to do the right thing, even when it's dangerous. The next morning, Jake watched from his repaired bridge as the Retribution Armada prepared to continue their mission. The massive fleet had grown even larger. Overnight, as more human ships arrived to join the fight against the pirates, the Horizon's Edge returned to Earth for repairs, but Jake knew his crew would never be the same. They had seen what humans could do when they worked together for a righteous cause. They'd seen their own planet unite to protect the innocent, as the fleet jumped to hyperspace. Heading for the Crimson Fleet's main base, Jake smiled. The pirates had made a terrible mistake when they attacked those civilians. They had awakened something in humanity that would not rest until justice was done. The sleeping giant was awake, and it was very, very angry. 3 days after the rescue of the Horizon's Edge, Admiral Kate Sullivan stood on the bridge of the Unbreakable and watched the final battle begin. The Retribution Armada had found the main Crimson Fleet base hidden in a dead star system at the edge of known space. The pirate stronghold was built inside a massive asteroid, with weapon platforms and shield generators protecting it from attack. Admiral Captain Torres reported from the Swift Justice, "We count over 40 pirate ships defending the base. They have heavy weapons, and they know we're coming." Sullivan looked at the tactical display showing the enemy forces. The pirates had gathered every ship they could find to make their last stand. But the human fleet was larger and much better organized. "All ships, this is Admiral Sullivan," she announced over the fleet communication channel. "We're here to end the Crimson Fleet forever. Remember what they did to those innocent civilians. Remember Captain Murphy and his crew who risked everything to save strangers. Today, we finish what they started." The battle began with a massive exchange of weapons fire. The space around the asteroid base lit up with energy beams and explosions. The Crimson Fleet ships fought desperately, but they were no match for the organized fury of the human fleet. Sullivan watched as Captain Torres led his special forces teams toward the asteroid base. Their mission was to rescue the thousands of slaves held in the pirate prison camps. While the main fleet fought the enemy ships, the rescue teams would go inside the base to save the captives. "Admiral, we're getting a communication from the base," her communications officer reported. "It's Commander Thakor." Sullivan smiled coldly. "Put him through." The reptilian pirate leader's face appeared on the main screen, looked older and more desperate than before. "Admiral Sullivan, I wish to negotiate. We can reach an agreement that benefits both our species." "The only agreement you'll get is the choice between surrender and death," Sullivan replied. "You had your chance to leave those civilians alone. You chose to murder them instead." "But surely you understand that war is costly," Thakor said, his voice becoming pleading. "We can pay tribute to Earth. We can avoid human ships in the future. There is no need for more bloodshed." Sullivan looked at the tactical display showing the rescue teams fighting their way through the pirate base. Early reports indicated they had found prison camps filled with people from dozens of different species. Many were sick and injured from years of captivity. "Commander, let me explain something about humans," Sullivan said calmly. "We don't want your tribute. We don't want your promises. We want you to stop existing as a threat to innocent people." The battle raged for 6 hours. One by one, the pirate ships were destroyed or surrendered. The human fleet lost several vessels, but they fought with a determination that the pirates could not match. These were not just soldiers following orders. They were people fighting for something they believed in, inside the asteroid base. Captain Torres and his rescue teams found horrors that made them understand why this war was necessary. The pirates had been capturing civilians for years, selling them as slaves, or keeping them as prisoners for entertainment. The rescue teams found families that had been separated, children who had never seen sunlight, and people who had given up hope of ever being free. "Admiral, this is Torres," came the captain's voice over the communication channel. "We've secured the prison levels. We're evacuating over 3,000 civilians. Some of them have been here for years." Sullivan felt a deep satisfaction as she watched the last pirate ship surrender. The asteroid base was now surrounded by human vessels, its weapons destroyed, and its shields down. The Crimson Fleet was finished. "Commander Thakor," she said into the communicator, "your forces have surrendered. You will be taken to Earth for trial. Survivors from your fleet will face justice for their crimes." "This is not over," Thakor hissed. "Other pirates will take our place. You cannot protect everyone in the galaxy." "Maybe not," Sullivan admitted, "but we can protect the people in this sector. And we can make sure that anyone who thinks about following your example knows what happened to you." I am the aftermath of the battle became known throughout the galaxy as the end of the Crimson Fleet. News of the human victory spread to every civilized world. The rescued civilians told their stories to reporters and government officials, describing how human soldiers had risked their lives to save complete strangers. On Earth, Captain Jake Murphy and his crew were invited to speak at the United Nations. They stood before representatives from every human nation and told the story of their fight in the Kepler sector. When Jake finished speaking, the entire assembly stood and applauded for 10 minutes. "We didn't do anything special," Jake said into the microphone. "We just couldn't stand by and watch innocent people die." The Galactic Council held emergency meetings to discuss the human military action. Some species complained that humans had acted without permission. Others argued that someone had finally done what needed to be done. The Zephyrian government sent a delegation to Earth to thank humanity for saving their people. The aquatic aliens presented Jake and his crew with the highest honor their species could give to non-Sephorians. Similar honors came from dozens of other species, whose people had been rescued from pirate slavery. But the most important result was the change in how the galaxy viewed humanity. The peaceful exploration ships that had been ignored by other species were now treated with respect. Pirates and raiders learned to avoid any area where human ships might be present. Admiral Sullivan established permanent patrol fleets to protect the Outer Rim colonies. The new ships were called Murphy-class patrol vessels, named after the captain who had started it all. Each ship carried the motto "No one fights alone" and was crewed by volunteers who wanted to continue the mission of protecting the innocent. 6 months after the battle, Jake Murphy returned to space as captain of the first Murphy-class patrol ship. His original crew volunteered to serve with him again, and they were joined by other humans who wanted to make a difference in the galaxy. On their first patrol, they received a distress call from a merchant vessel under attack by raiders. As the patrol ship raced toward the emergency, Jake smiled and remembered the words Admiral Sullivan had spoken to him. "We're dangerous to the right people." The message had been sent throughout the galaxy, and everyone had received it clearly. Humanity was awake, and they were watching. Anyone who threatened innocent people would face the consequences. The Deathworld had produced protectors, and the galaxy would never be the same. Jake looked at his crew as they prepared for their first rescue mission. "Ready to save some lives?" "Always, Captain," Lisa replied from her navigation station. The patrol ship jumped to hyperspace, carrying human determination to wherever it was needed most.